In this video we are gonna color this coffee shop, which is one of my coloring pages, and I will put the link to them in the description. The colors I will be using: titanium buff, warm grey, black, raw sienna, burnt umber, olive green, sap green, yellow, Venetian red. I am using round brush size 11, but use any brush you feel comfortable with. And I am starting by mixing titanium buff with a little bit of raw sienna to make it a little warmer. And I will color the sign, the big sign on the top. Next, I will use this color for the windows. So first I am coloring all the window, and while it's still wet, I will put some yellow in the middle, and with clean wet brush blend the colors together. For the big window, I am coloring with yellow, like these triangle shapes that are coming from the lamps, and then just blend out the bottom part. The same color mix I will be using for the pavement too, and I'm just doing some strokes, and then with clean wet brush I am blending, smudging out the color so it looks uneven at the bottom. And I don't want the letters to be completely white, so I am adding a bit of color there too. Now I am using raw sienna for the doors, and first I will just go with one layer over it, and then later we will add some dimension to the doors and also the other wooden parts. And the wooden parts around the window, I am also coloring with raw sienna. I also add the raw sienna to those coffee bags in the window, and then with clean wet brush I lifted some of the color so they are a bit brighter. Next, I am coloring this metal part with warm grey, and also this is just the first layer. Later we will be adding more dimension to it. I am also coloring with warm grey this step at the door, and I will color in some parts of the chair also, and that thin door on the ground. Now I mixed olive green with warm grey and added a lot of water, so it's like a greyish but a bit of green, and it looks warm, and I am using this color mix for the facade. For the chair, I am using olive green. because I like the warm feel of this color. So all the drawing will look a bit like vintage warm. The awning I am coloring with Venetian red. You can use any red you want. I just really like this shade of red, and I won't be coloring the letters because those are white, but not really because I added a bit of color to them also before. Now the sign has dried completely and we can start adding colors. So I am using the Venetian red for the letters. I will be coloring A and A in green, but the rest of them I want to be red. So I'm coloring with red, Venetian red. When the first layer of the awning has dried, I am adding the second layer with the same Venetian red, and I am covering that top big part and also the part where the letters are, but not that little middle line. I want it to stand out and be brighter. And I will add some color to those little signs in the windows. I will be using red and lighter green, and I am adding color to one side, then with clean wet brush I am blending them out because I think it looks more interesting that way. I mixed sap green with olive green and I am adding more dimension to the chair. So I am adding the second layer and I will blend it out so it's like darker in some places and in some lighter. And now we are adding the second layer of raw sienna for the wooden parts. And I am covering everything except the frames around like the window and that bottom part. So I will color around the frame and inside the frame, but not the frame. I want it to stand out. And I am also adding a bit of raw sienna for the coffee bags to give a bit of dimension to them. Okay, so now it is a great time to think of where your light source is. So mine is on the right and I am darkening all the parts that are like in the shadow. So I am using the same mix that I used before for the facade, and I am just adding the second layer and darkening those parts that will be in the shadow. And I am adding the same color to the ground, but just around the lines. And with warm grey, I am adding the second layer to the warm grey layer and darkening some parts of it. that will also be like in the shadow. So for this metal part, I am adding warm grey to the big lines. I want those little lines to be brighter, lighter than those big lines. So I am just adding the second layer of warm grey to them. Now with burnt umber, I am coloring the signs frame. And with burnt umber, I am adding more dimension to the door. So remember my light source is on the right, so I am coloring where the door would be darker, and then with clean wet brush I will blend the color up because I don't want there to be any harsh lines at the moment. Then I will also add burnt umber under the step and adding more little lines for the pavement, and also coloring in the coffee and the coffee beans on the coffee bags. Now with just sap green, I am adding these little lines where the ink lines are, because I want those to be a bit darker, like there is dimension to the chair. Now I'm adding even more dimension to this metal part, and I am using the black color, and I am drawing these little shadow lines under the thin lines that we left just with one layer warm grey. Also, I am adding yellow to the doorknob, and I will add more yellow to the lamps. I mixed Venetian red with burnt umber, and I am adding the third layer to the awning, but I am just coloring like where the shadows would be. So like thin lines, and if I want, I blend it out with clean wet brush so the lines are not so harsh. Then I'm using the olive green warm grey color mix to add some shadows that are coming from the signs letters, because I want them to like stand out, like they are almost 3D. So you need to remember where your light source is and draw the shadows, and the same I will use for the shadows in the window. And at the end I will be adding splatters with all the colors from the palette, and darken some parts if I want to add even more dimension, and the drawing is finished. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye!